Title: The Final Curtain, a story of betrayal and redemption. Emma and I met in university and instantly clicked. When we started dating, I wasn't very assertive. It was her interest and desire in me that helped me value myself more and overcome my insecurities. I was just a hard-working, nerdy guy who hadn't had much luck with women, so I was amazed that someone as smart and beautiful as Emma was interested in me. Both of us were ambitious, and we each built our own small businesses by the time we graduated from university. After graduation, we moved to a cozy apartment in San Francisco and got married a year later. Our marriage felt very strong to me. We faced family tragedies, professional challenges, and various disagreements, but we always worked through them, and I believed it made us stronger. Emma had a large social circle that included many men, but it never concerned me because she didn't do anything suspicious. All social outings seemed to be with a mix of friends, and I trusted her closest friends. As our 10-year anniversary approached, I decided to discuss the topic of starting a family. Early in our relationship, we compromised on the size of our family. I wanted kids, and she wanted none or at most one, so we agreed on having one child. Now, 10 years into our marriage, feeling economically secure and thinking our relationship was healthy, I brought up the topic. I can't help but wonder if my bringing up this subject triggered the chain of events that followed. A little over 3 months ago, she told me she was going out with her friends to have some fun. She explained that she needed to unwind because she was getting stressed about me asking about having kids again. That night she returned home at 4 a.m., and from that day on, our bedroom became completely dormant. In our relationship, Emma had always initiated closeness as much as I did, if not more on average. I'd say she initiated more often than me. Even during rare periods when we were dealing with travel, I can't recall us going more than 5 days without some form of closeness. She started going out more, becoming protective of her phone and avoiding me, things I had never seen from her before. After about 3 to 4 weeks of this, I talked to my best friend Jack, and he directed me to Reddit, where I started reading about similar situations. Eventually, I realized I needed to do something about this because it was affecting my mood. I didn't just want to trust her, I liked trusting my wife, but now I felt the need to trust her reluctantly. I decided to check her calls and texts on her phone, feeling like a complete monster for violating her privacy. I discovered that one of the new people in her social circle was an old high school flame from before we were together. The more I investigated, the more I uncovered. I believe the fact that I had always trusted her completely made her complacent about hiding the affair better. I discovered that during that party a month ago, he attended, and they spent the whole night catching up and ended up kissing, not even bothering to hide it from their friends, conveniently going to the bathroom together. Up until this point, I had been feeling a huge pit of anxiety in my stomach, trying to hold on to the image of the woman I thought I had married, fooling myself in a way. But now the anger and sadness became overwhelming, especially since she seemed oblivious to my sudden indifference. She didn't notice that I had stopped making romantic gestures, and I felt like I was falling apart inside. Finally, a month ago, I decided to catch them in the act. I told Emma I was going to visit my cousin for the weekend, who lives 3 hours away. But instead, I stayed with Jack, who had been helping me record and copy everything. I waited, and yep, she brought him to our house, to our bed. I sneaked into the house, made my way to our room, and the sounds left no doubt. They were so into it, they didn't even notice me standing there at the door, recording them with my phone. It felt like something inside me just shattered, like my soul snapped so hard I could hear it. My veins turned icy cold, and it felt like a massive weight had been dropped on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I went numb. The next part is kind of hazy, to be honest. According to Jack, who I had brought as a witness, it seems I walked up to them, pulled the guy off the bed, and then Jack had to pull me off of him. I vaguely remember Jack holding me down on the ground. After that, there was the usual chaos of getting caught. I decided to cut off all contact for 5 weeks and started working with a lawyer, preparing for the worst. Jack acted as her go-between during that time because I just couldn't bring myself to talk to her. And you know what? Emma reached out to my family and told them that we were having problems. Yeah, right after the 5 weeks of not contacting each other, we finally met and talked. She was sorry and took full responsibility for her actions, saying it wasn't my fault. We decided to give marriage counseling a try to see if there was any hope of salvaging our relationship. It's hard to believe, but even after everything, I still love her. I hate myself for caring about her well-being and happiness, and now I'm questioning our whole relationship. Has she been cheating before, and I just didn't see it or chose to ignore it because I trusted her too much? Update. After reading all the responses and messages, I took the weekend to think it all over and made up my mind. I realized that I couldn't live with myself if I stayed with her. Trying to work it out would mean sacrificing my self-respect. I also didn't want to be in a relationship where I had to constantly be on the lookout for betrayal. So, I decided to end it all. Here's how it happened. On Monday, I woke up to a surprising sight. My Johnson was at full attention, something that hadn't happened since I found out about Emma's affair. It was like my body was saying, we're going to end this today and move on to something new. I even laughed about it, and Jack and his wife came to check on me, thinking I was having a breakdown. I got up, got ready, and called Emma's dad to set up a talk. We met about an hour before our marriage counseling session. Surprisingly, I felt calm on the drive there, though deep down emotions were still swirling inside me. We met at a cozy breakfast place near his house and sat down. Emma's dad is a good man, lighthearted, funny, and level-headed. I thanked him for how he and his wife had treated me all these years and apologized for having to have this talk with him. He listened patiently, but as I explained why I was going to divorce his daughter, he looked down, and I could sense his disappointment and anger, not at me, but at Emma. He told me he understood, and I asked him not to tell Emma, as I was going to talk to her soon. He agreed, we shook hands, and he wished me well. It hurt to shatter his image of her. I wondered if I should have asked him to take care of her, but I reminded myself that he's her dad, and of course, he'll care for her. It's no longer my responsibility to look after her. She's a grown woman now. After that, I headed to our scheduled marriage counseling session. I spent all day on Sunday practicing what I would say to Emma and how to say it. I wanted to make sure my emotions wouldn't take over during the conversation. I sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes and prayed, something I hadn't done in a while since this all started. When we sat down for the session, Emma was wearing one of the dresses I used to love seeing her in. For a brief moment, I almost forgot everything, but then the strong disgust and anger took over, and any attraction I had faded away. I let the counselor begin, like in our previous sessions, but after about 10 minutes of them talking, I interrupted. Excuse me, I have a few things I need to say to Emma, and I wanted to say them here with a neutral third party. If I'm interrupted at any point, I will simply leave, and that's it. Emma, I've had some realizations, and I want to express them. I don't feel the need to know if this was the only time you cheated because it doesn't change things for me. Knowing how long it went on or how many times it happened won't make a difference either. Even if there was a so-called good reason behind it, the why doesn't change the fact that it happened. The important thing here is that you did cheat. These are the facts that matter to me. Now, it's evident that you never wanted to have children with me. At this, Emma opened her mouth to interject, and I started walking to the door, so she immediately backed off. You were going to string me along for however long it would take. You were going to cheat on me sooner or later. This is when the waterworks started to open up for her. I felt so disrespected and unloved by your actions. The counselor began to look like she was about to interject, and I responded by taking another step towards the door, which ended that. I want you to understand that my lawyer is already filing for divorce, and your father now knows the entire truth of what has been happening. Don't contact me anymore. From now on, our only communication will be through our lawyers. These are our final words to each other. Goodbye. I walked to the door and left. As soon as I closed the door, I heard her wailing loudly. She rushed out of the office trying to stop me, apologizing and begging for a second chance, saying we can start a family. She was crying hysterically the whole time. I managed to push past her and get in my car. The emotions I had been suppressing started to overwhelm me, and I was barely holding it together. I drove to my parents' house and sent the planned text message to Emma's best friend's husbands. When I got home, my dad was at the store, but my mom could tell something was wrong with me. She's always been able to read me like a book. I told her and Dad that I needed to share something important, so we sat down and waited. About 30 minutes later, Dad arrived. I poured everything out, and with each word, it felt like an ocean of emotions was emptying, and all the pain was pouring out of me. When I finished talking to my dad, he just held me, and I cried into his shirt for a solid 20 minutes. When it all ended, I felt drained but also strangely at peace. I've arranged for Jack to receive a Harley he's been eyeing for a while. He's been more than a friend to me, and I want to be as good a friend to him as he has been to me. I can't wait to see his face when he gets it. I think this will be my last post because it's the end of the story. I want to thank all of you. I never thought I'd find such sound and sane advice from strangers on the internet. I know there's a long road ahead, and I'll still need individual counseling to deal with the aftermath of this debacle and rebuild my ability to trust. I have to hope that little by little, all this pain, sadness, and anger will go away, like a roto-rooter for my soul. If I do the work now, the rest of my life begins, and I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it. Continued. With the divorce underway, I found myself in a whirlwind of emotions. The pain of betrayal was still raw, but there was also a strange sense of relief and hope for the future. I started seeing a therapist regularly to help process everything. The sessions were tough at first, but they gradually became a place where I could begin to understand and heal from the trauma. Jack, true to his character, was a rock for me during this time. He helped me navigate the legal complexities of the divorce and provided a constant source of support. The day I handed him the keys to the Harley, his eyes lit up with genuine surprise and joy. It was a small way to repay him for all he had done for me. In the weeks following the confrontation, Emma attempted several times to contact me. Each message was a mixture of apologies and pleas for another chance, but I remained firm in my decision. Communicating only through our lawyers, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, expanding my small business. The distraction was welcome, and seeing the fruits of my labor grow provided a much-needed boost to my self-esteem. I also reconnected with old friends and even joined a local hiking group, rediscovering a passion for the outdoors I had long forgotten. One evening, while going through old photographs, I stumbled upon a picture of Emma and me during our honeymoon. The memories came flooding back, but instead of pain, I felt a sense of closure. It was a part of my life, a chapter that had ended, and now it was time to move on to the next one. As the months passed, I started to feel more like myself again. The wounds were healing, and I began to look forward to the future. I even went on a few dates, cautiously dipping my toes back into the world of romance. It was strange at first, but I found that I could enjoy someone's company without the shadow of my past hanging over me. Emma, on the other hand, struggled more visibly. Mutual friends told me that she was having a hard time adjusting to life without me. She had moved back in with her parents temporarily and was seeking her own therapy to deal with the fallout of her actions. Despite everything, I hoped she would find her way too. One day, while hiking with my group, I met a woman named Lisa. She was vibrant, funny, and had a zest for life that was contagious. We hit it off immediately, and over time, our friendship blossomed into something more. Lisa knew about my past and was incredibly understanding and patient, which made me feel safe and valued. Our relationship was different from what I had with Emma. It was based on mutual respect, honesty, and a shared love for adventure. With Lisa, I felt a new sense of freedom and excitement about the future. We traveled together, explored new places, and created memories that were ours alone. Looking back, the journey from betrayal to healing was long and painful, but it taught me valuable lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of trusting oneself. I learned that it's possible to rebuild your life, even after it feels like everything has fallen apart. As I stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean with Lisa by my side, I realized that I had found peace. The waves crashing below symbolized the turmoil I had endured, but also the endless possibilities that lay ahead. I had survived the storm and emerged stronger, ready to embrace whatever the future held. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit renewed, I closed the chapter on my past and stepped boldly into a new beginning. Story 2: The Battle for Trust. My wife and I, both 37 years old, had been married for 12 years and together for 16 since we met in college. We had a 6-year-old son and had recently bought our first house after saving for a long time. While our relationship had its ups and downs, we had managed to make it last. Or so I thought. I'm not even sure what to consider D-Day anymore. The truth is so unclear. Was it the first time I suspected something was going on months ago, or was it last week, last night, or perhaps even today? Maybe D-Day was last year. It began like these things usually do, my wife, Megan, staying up late on her phone, texting someone. It seemed a bit odd to me, as she had been secretive about her phone, but I had a chance to check it while she was in the shower. I discovered she was flirting quite openly with a coworker named John Parker. It seemed like a new friendship, but it was more daring and even suggestive than I was used to from her. I confronted her about it, and she got defensive, saying it was just a coworker, and she didn't think she did anything wrong. She got mad at me for snooping. A week later, while Megan was getting ready in the morning, her locked phone on the nightstand received a notification from John at 5 in the morning. I didn't want to wake up our son, so I avoided confronting her. Confrontation is not my strong suit anyway. Later that afternoon, I talked to my therapist about it, and he advised me to confront her and ask about it. He suggested I ask to see her phone. So when she got home, I asked her to show me her phone. She refused, claiming her right to privacy. I questioned her about whether she had been talking to John, and she said he messaged her maybe 2 or 3 times. I insisted on seeing the messages. She denied anything significant was going on and suggested I needed help to overcome my suspicions. I told her I would seek help, but first, I wanted to see her phone. Eventually, she agreed. It turned out there had been 50 to 100 messages exchanged over the last 2 weeks, more than she initially admitted. Though they seemed innocent, the fact that she lied bothered me. We decided to go to counseling again. We had gone previously when our child was born for about 6 months. The counselor outlined a plan for reconciliation, but it required Megan to cut off communication with John and my commitment to take divorce off the table. However, Megan claimed she didn't like the counselor anymore, and we never returned to therapy. Perhaps D-Day was last week. Megan spent the morning texting her friends, and I noticed her unlocked PIN. My suspicions continued to bother me, and I couldn't shake them off. I got a brief moment when she left her phone unattended, and I unlocked it. I saw that she was still texting him, but now his name was listed as Parker J. I didn't have enough time to read the messages. I confronted her and asked if she was still talking to John. She admitted that she was, claiming they were just friends, and since I never asked her not to talk to him, given they worked together, she didn't think there was an issue. I didn't request to see the messages, and she didn't offer. At this point, would it even make a difference? Would it help? Maybe D-Day was last night. All day yesterday, she seemed upset and avoided me. Last night, while she was asleep, I took her phone from the nightstand. I felt my heart pounding with fear. What if she woke up? Why was I snooping? What was I hoping to find? I was filled with shame and anxiety. I attempted to enter the PIN, but it was incorrect. Her new PIN was longer now. At this point, I decided to sleep on the couch. When she woke up and came downstairs, she asked if everything was okay. I told her I had a headache, which was true, and I was feeling nauseous, also true. She questioned if I had a fever, and I assured her I didn't, it was just a sinus headache. She wanted me to come back to bed and asked what was bothering me. I told her that I thought she was having an affair. She denied it, saying she would never do that. Then she asked if it was about that other guy, and I questioned why she flirted with him. Her response was that it was just fun, and that's where the conversation ended. My headache overwhelmed me, and I told her I wanted to sleep. I guess today is D-Day. I'm so tired, both emotionally and physically. I'm exhausted from the slow trickle of half-truths. I'm tired of dealing with the drama surrounding her cell phone. I'm worn out from the constant paranoia, always feeling like I'm only half right and ending up feeling like a jerk. I don't know what to say when she gets home. Confrontation is not my strong suit. I just want to put an end to this nightmare. Update. I talked to Megan and let her know that I was ready to move on and wanted a divorce. She tried to downplay her relationship with her coworker, saying it was ridiculous to want a divorce over that. She offered to show me the text messages between them, but I was doubtful about their authenticity. It's easy to delete messages these days, especially if they're not regular SMS texts from the carrier, and these weren't. The messages I saw were not too scandalous, but still not appropriate. She messaged him multiple times, and he was persistently flirtatious even over innocent things. On Thanksgiving Day, she texted him, "The turkey is in the oven," and he replied, "That's so hot." Another time, about a week ago, she texted him close to bedtime, saying she was going to have another drink because it had been a long day, and he responded, "I am so turned on right now. I'm feeling frustrated because I'm stuck in a strange place right now. There's evidence of inappropriate behavior, and she's been." I agreed, but mainly because I needed some time to think about my next steps. Meanwhile, I've been active on this subreddit, trying to support others while also sorting out my own thoughts. Megan has been acting like everything is normal. She's been very affectionate, constantly wanting to kiss and cuddle, but I feel frustrated and declined her advances. During our arguments about the issue, when I told her that I thought she was having an affair and she asked why, I mentioned the lies, the deleted messages, and how she's treating the privacy of her friendship with this person as sacred. She got upset, feeling insulted and not understanding why I couldn't trust her. She cried and said she didn't deserve to be treated this way. Since I don't have concrete evidence of anything beyond an emotional affair, I felt I had to give Megan a chance to come clean and work on reconciliation. I came up with 2 simple requirements for me to stay and work with the marriage counselor: stop communicating with the other person involved in the affair and agree to unlock her phone and let me see all the messages exchanged between her and him. At first, she agreed to both conditions. However, she has since changed her stance. She is still texting with him, claiming it's just friendly, but she won't allow me to see the messages or anything else on her phone. On Friday, I contacted a divorce lawyer, and I have a meeting scheduled for the end of the month. I was hoping to gather evidence of something more than just flirtatious text messages. In my state, being at fault matters during separation, so that could be helpful. I'm considering discussing this situation with the AP's spouse. Although I don't have concrete proof of inappropriate behavior between Megan and her husband, it's more like, look, they're being inappropriate, but maybe it's worth telling her. I'm ready to move on. This marriage seems beyond repair. Update. After my last update, I received feedback suggesting that I should be more straightforward with my spouse about the situation. I have already contacted a lawyer, and we're currently working on the divorce paperwork. In the meantime, I decided to reach out to the AP's spouse and share only the known truth with her. I wanted to let her draw her own conclusions and avoid any potential legal issues from the AP for slander. The other spouse reacted wonderfully. She took the news seriously and with concern for my situation. She admitted feeling nervous and unsure about how to handle it. She said she would talk to her husband, and I wished her well. Of course, Megan found out about this, and she was furious. She accused me of ruining their marriage, destroying her friendship, and even threatening her job. She claimed not to recognize me anymore and expressed serious concern about my mental health. Throughout this process, I've remained very calm and have been practicing the divorce 180 approach. I told her that I feel fine and understand her anger, but there's nothing more to discuss. I did what I did, and I can't change the past, not that I want to. She has come home from work in tears, saying there are rumors circulating at her workplace. She blames me for the rumors, even though I haven't spoken to anyone at her job about our situation. If there are rumors, they must be coming from the AP. She should be angry with him. She also told me that she spoke with the AP and that they plan to reconcile their marriage and be okay. She asked me not to talk to the AP's spouse anymore. Now that we're fully committed to getting a divorce, Megan has become petty and vindictive. She calls me names like an a-hole and accuses me of being lazy, apathetic, and a liar. She claims that she was the only one who truly cared in the marriage and makes me feel like a monster for supposedly breaking up the AP's marriage, even though she contradicted herself earlier. At this point, the AP's spouse sent me one last message saying, "If I had seen what you saw, I would have told you too. You don't need to apologize for anything." I have decided to keep these messages as evidence for my divorce lawyer. Overall, I feel like I'm handling this situation quite well. Megan's true colors are showing, and that makes it easier for me to proceed with the divorce. However, I expect the divorce process itself to be challenging. She's trying to manipulate and gaslight me, attempting to make me look like a terrible person. In response, I'm staying patient and perceptive, which seems to deflate her ego. The more she behaves this way, the more determined I am to pursue the divorce. Instead of wasting my energy trying to make her happy, I'm focusing on building a stronger relationship with my son, which has been very fulfilling. I'm mentally exhausted from all the lies and denials. The thought of spending the holiday season with a bitter spouse doesn't excite me, but I know this phase will pass eventually. Since my last post, things have been a whirlwind of craziness and chaos. If you're dealing with an emotionally offensive spouse, I recommend reading the article "Mind Duck Has Three Stations." Just today, Megan's emotions have been all over the place. She went from being fine with the divorce but blaming me for telling the AP's spouse to suggesting cohabitation after the divorce for the sake of our child to asking if I would reconsider the divorce and then back to claiming she was the only one trying to work on the marriage. She's also concerned about how I will handle the financial aspect. It's been a lot to handle in just one day. Update. A couple of weeks ago, I informed Megan that I want a divorce, and my decision remains firm. We have a 6-year-old son, and I'm now researching co-parenting to ensure I'm there for him and his needs. Megan has repeatedly asked me to reconsider, suggesting there might be something worth saving in our marriage and accusing me of selfishly tearing the family apart. However, recently she proposed a different approach. She asked me to reconsider the divorce not for the purpose of reconciling our relationship but to raise our son together while living in the same house, even though we wouldn't be a couple anymore. She referred to it as a parenting marriage. I have reservations and concerns about this idea. I worry it could lead to financial complications once we eventually decide to get divorced. Also, if I were to start a new relationship, it might be uncomfortable for someone new to have me living with my ex-spouse, even if it's just in a co-parenting setup. Additionally, I fear that this arrangement might not grant me the level of independence I desire in my life and in caring for our son. Our past issues regarding parenting and communication won't magically disappear just because we label ourselves as divorced. I'd appreciate any thoughts on this matter. I've only found articles from marriage counselors praising the parenting marriage technique, and I haven't come across any downsides mentioned. Every day she keeps begging me to reconsider. I've been distant and unresponsive because some of her behavior has been terrible. She even came up to me holding our family photo from last Christmas, asking, "Isn't this worth it?" But it's important to note that she hasn't apologized for her actions. According to her, she did nothing wrong. Still, I'm trying to remain emotionally detached. She's been ignoring my requests to go to mediation for the separation agreement or let my lawyer handle it. In our state, there are two paths to divorce, either through a separation agreement or living apart for 1 year. We're still living together because I'm the one paying the mortgage. Today, she told me she'll sign the separation agreement, but on the condition that I allow her to tell our son that I am the one responsible for the divorce. I don't think that kind of condition can even be part of the agreement. Isn't this a manipulative move on her part? What should I do now? Our first talk about divorce was in June. I expressed my desire to end the marriage, but she asked for time to reconsider. After more evidence of her behavior came to light, I had the second talk right after Thanksgiving, making it clear that I'm done and want a divorce. I reached out to a lawyer, and so did she. However, the divorce process has now stalled. In Maryland, without a separation agreement, the only option for divorce is to live apart for 1 year. On Monday, Megan dropped a bombshell on me. She insisted on a separation agreement, but with the condition that I tell our 7-year-old son that I wanted to leave and wasn't willing to fix things. I told her it wasn't appropriate to have that conversation with him. Last night, we talked again. She now says she'll agree to the separation agreement only if we go to 3 months of couples therapy because she needs to know the why of the divorce. I've been clear about what went wrong, including the lying and emotional affair. However, she doesn't think those are good enough reasons. I've also been discussing with my individual therapist the patterns of offense in our relationship, and honestly, there's no chance of me returning to this marriage. I suggested a compromise, agreeing to couples counseling after the agreement is in place. I thought it would give her closure. I need the security of the document first so I can freely express myself in therapy without her manipulating the process. She called this unfair, believing that the money spent on drafting the agreement could be used for therapy to save the marriage. Do I need to leave now? The original plan was for me to keep the house since I can afford the mortgage. I'm considering moving to an apartment in my son's school district and offering to pay half of the bills on the current house until we can sell it if it comes to that. My soon-to-be ex-wife, STBXW, and I are separating. She's been hesitant to work on a separation agreement, saying she needs more time to think. It's been over 6 months now, and she's been focused on reconciling while I've been hoping she would change her mind. Recently, my lawyer pushed me to take action. We have a school-age child, which makes things more complex. We currently own a home we bought 2 years ago. We're both on the title, but I'm the only one on the mortgage loan. I cover the mortgage and all household bills. She earns 6 figures but only pays for groceries and healthcare. But with estimated child support, I won't be able to afford the mortgage and save enough. So I've started looking at apartments and reached out to a realtor. However, I can't move out until we have a signed separation agreement with a custody plan. I want to start selling the home, but she refuses to sell it right now because she's not ready to leave. Yesterday, she requested a discussion about the finances of me keeping the house after separation. She wanted to review my income and the mortgage to explore options. I declined, stating that she has no right to dictate my living arrangements post-separation. This made her cry, claiming she's doing what's best for our child. I feel stuck. I can't leave, I can't stay, and I can't sell the house. I spoke to my lawyer, and she'll prepare a separation agreement, but if my wife refuses to sign, I'm uncertain about my next steps. I'm still going through a separation with my soon-to-be ex-wife, STBXW, which I initiated months ago. I can't move out of the house until I have a signed custody agreement. My plan is to leave in March. Sunday night, my wife installed security cameras inside the house, which record 24/7 to an external device. I noticed them on Monday and put them away. She reinstalled them overnight. Today, I removed them again and informed her in writing that I object to being recorded. Our state, Maryland, requires consent from both parties for audio recording. She claimed they were set to only record video, not audio. The cameras don't belong to my wife, they belong to a friend of hers. The friend asked me to return them to my spouse, so I did. I'm worried about this situation. I don't want to be recorded, and I fear it might be used against me in some way. Currently, I work from home while my first grader son does distance learning. In my state, dealing with divorce and custody is challenging. They prefer parents not to divorce, so they make it complicated. There are 2 paths for divorce, a contested one requiring a year of separation and an uncontested one needing a signed separation agreement, which is faster if both parties agree. I can't move out of the house without having some custody arrangement in place. Now, it's almost a year into the divorce, and my ex is prolonging the separation agreement process, adding unreasonable custody demands and not making decisions about the house. I'm unsure if she wants to sell it or buy me out of it because she's delaying the separation agreement. I've considered filing for a contested divorce, but even then, due to COVID, the next custody hearing date wouldn't be for 4 to 5 months. So I'm stuck here as long as she wants, and I hate it. I feel stuck. I want to leave, but I'm afraid it might affect my custody situation. I'm exhausted from being the one paying all the bills, especially when she earns as much as I do. I'm tired of constantly being criticized by her for everything I do. She tells me that all my efforts are wrong, and she even calls me unattractive, lazy, and uncaring. I'm just really, really worn out.